Well, we've given everyone about 4 minutes to click in. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's second Latinx Business Roundtable to celebrate our heritage as part of the Latinx, Latino, Hispanic community. I like to name all of those identities because they're important to each one of us, and identity is very personal. I want to start off with a brief announcement. Well, first, let me say my name is Commissioner Eira Corral Sepúlveda. I'm thrilled to serve on the board of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. The brief announcement is everyone will be on mute except for our presenters and panelists. We encourage you to engage in a dynamic conversation throughout the entire program by posing your questions or comments in the chat box. So if you hear something that is fun or engaging, or you identify with a comment made by one of the panel discussions, be sure to put it in the chat and engage in that conversation within the chat. We will have a good amount of time for Q&A after the panel session. So if you can't stay on for the full program, don't worry. We will have this recorded and uploaded to the MWRD site. And we also will have our staff monitoring the Q&A and the chat and answering questions that you may present. They might be able to answer some of your questions live. They'll be submitting links as well to some of the topics that we're speaking on. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our esteemed president of the MWRD Board of Commissioners, Madam President Kari Steele. Please kick us off with some welcoming remarks.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great.
Just fine.
Great. So thank you, Commissioner Corral Sepúlveda and Chairman of Finance, Garcia, for pulling this together and taking on the leadership role of this. And of course, happy National Hispanic Heritage Month to everyone on this call. My name is Kari Steele. I am the president of the Board of Commissioners at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. At this time, I would like to introduce members of the board, and I can't see everyone on this Zoom meeting because it is packed in here. So what I'm going to do is first I'll acknowledge the two commissioners I do see, and then I'll just list everyone so you all can know who they are, and they might be on this call. So, but we'll just thank all of them for making sure this happens. So we're thanking the whole entire Board of Commissioners for making sure that we had this Zoom meeting available to us. But I do see, of course, I see Commissioner Corral Sepúlveda and our Chairman of Finance, Marcelino Garcia. But I also see Commissioner Perry and Commissioner Dubuclet. Now we also have, and I'm not sure if they're present or not, so we're just going to say they are. We also have Vice President Barbara McGowan, Commissioner Cam Davis, Commissioner Josina Morita, Commissioner Mariana Sparopoulos, and of course we have our Executive Director Brian Perkovich helps us make sure everything goes as planned. So we want to give him a thank you and a hello as well. And I see staff on the phone or on the video screen. So hello, staff. I'd also like to welcome our panelists today who bring valuable expertise and experience to the contracting process as a WBE and MBE firm. First, I would like to acknowledge Sandi Llano, Vice President of Sandi Llano and Associates and Vice President of Hispanic American Construction Industry Association Board. I would also like to acknowledge Julian Rueda. Julian Rueda is a professional engineer and president of Geo Services, Inc. I would also like to acknowledge Roberto Velazquez, president of Semper Fine Land, Inc. And last but not least, Brenda Wheeler, president of Jason Mechanical. So after the success of our first Latinx virtual business roundtable last year, the Board of Commissioners and MWRD believed it was important to continue the engagement process with our businesses and stakeholders and create opportunities, both virtually and in person. So I guess that's one takeaway we can, be grateful for from this pandemic, is that We thought of more ways to meet with everyone virtually, and we're meeting in person. And that's something that we'll continue to do at Water Reclamation, because as you see, there are plenty of people on this virtual meeting that might not have necessarily been able to make it to an in-person meeting. So we'll continue this. This allows us to promote MWRD while learning how we can further improve and expand our relationships. We know we can't deliver our important wastewater treatment process and stormwater services without strong businesses, and strong businesses that are small, that are medium, and large. Today, our staff will discuss the work of the district, and our panelists will provide insight into how they have been involved. Thank you and enjoy the roundtable. And please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have. As Commissioner Corral Sepúlveda stated, use that chat box to type your comments, and know that all the commissioners at Water Reclamation and staff has an open door policy. So we welcome your questions, and we're here to help you because of course we are the best governmental agency in the state of Illinois. At this time, I would like to turn it over to the Chairman of Finance, Marcelino Garcia. Thank you guys, and you have a great meeting.
Thank you, President Steele. Thank you for those kind words. I also want to thank Executive Director Perkovich, all our staff for participating in this program, and especially to the Department of Public Affairs for coordinating and making sure that everyone has access to this platform as our continuing series on how to do business with the district. I want to thank Commissioner Corral Sepúlveda, Dubucle, and Perry, the last two for being here, but also to Commissioner Corral Sepúlveda for pulling this off for a second year in a row. I think it's great that we're opening up avenues for businesses to do business with the district. As I want to get started into the presentation program, I would like staff to introduce themselves and begin their presentations. After the presentations, we'll do a panel discussion, leaving us with about 15 minutes for question and answer. So we'll start first with Darlene Lokiasio, then Catherine O'Connor, and finally Regina. So Darlene, kick it off.
Hi, sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Darlene Lokiasio. I'm Director of Procurement and Materials Management for the MWRD, and it's a pleasure to be part of the 2022 Latinx Heritage Month Business Roundtable. I'm here to give you some insight to the procurement department and the opportunities that are available to bid at the MWRD. The mission of the Procurement and Materials Management Department is to procure all construction goods and services required by the district's operations in a free, open, and equitable competitive bidding process in accordance with the Illinois statute entitled the Purchasing Act. Next slide. The procurement is in total support of the district's strategic plan and plays an integral role in strategic goal community engagement. This is to ensure that the community, to position the MWRD as a critical community asset and to ensure that the MWRD is a responsive neighbor and an inclusive business partner. Next slide. The procurement goal is to continue to improve your experience with the MWRD. We have a couple of items that are on our action plan right now. We're in the process of conducting a survey of vendors to identify issues and concerns in our procurement process. We are continuing to increase opportunities for small businesses by unbundling contracts. And what I mean by unbundling contracts is to, within a contract, there could be several opportunities that are either distributed, especially like goods and services, by separating them by plants, and then maybe by furnish and deliver contracts where we are keeping groups of like items together to give more opportunities for people to bid on our contracts. We are trying to improve the technology in which vendors process and communicate with the MWRD on procurement issues. One of the real good features that we have on our website right now that I'd like to just highlight is our Q&A room that we have. In the Q&A room, when you're bidding a contract and you have questions to ask about that particular contract, you type it in our Q&A room and the project manager for the district responds to those questions. And if we need to, based on those responses, to issue an addendum to make it part of the contract document, we do it at that particular time. But what you get to see is questions that other people are asking about our contract documents, and also that gives you a better information in order to help you preparing your own cost proposal when you're submitting a bid. One of the other enhancements to foster better communication, the district is now having pre-bid conferences via Zoom. And your company is able to participate online at the time the pre-bid is set, but we're also keeping those records, and that you would be able to view those pre-bid conferences at any particular time if you happen to meet that you couldn't be available at the time when the pre-bid was set. And the last is we're always continuing outreach to engage new vendors to participate in the bidding process. The next slide. I just want to give you a flavor for what we have already awarded in contracts this year, and this is for 2022. In construction, we had done $331 million. Service and maintenance and repairs, it's mainly for the plants to make sure that they keep on, that they're operational. That is around 55 million, and materials and equipment is around 33 million. These three categories, the two categories, services and materials and equipment, give us the most ability to unbundle contracts and to break up into smaller areas, again, either by area, by plant, or by like items. If you want to see current opportunities that are available, you go to our MWRD site. It's MWRD.org. You go to doing business, procurement and materials management, and below you would see contract announcements. These are, next slide. These are our current contracts that are available at this time for bidding. It gives you all the bid documents that you could download and to take a look at. And, you know, as I talked about before, you know, there's 4 bids on this contract that are broken up into smaller pieces. One was the job order contracting services that's listed there. I know that opened today. I did the slide a couple of days ago, so that was a little bit outdated as of today. But job order contracting was done by 3 areas. There is also furnishing and delivering sodium bisulfate, where you could provide sodium bisulfate at each of the plants. The same thing with landscape maintenance. It is at various areas, but it's broken up. You could win one group, you could win all the groups. But it does give you the opportunity to bid a contract that matches your capacity and that you could provide. Next slide. These are a couple of contracts that the board has approved us to go out and to advertise. So they will be coming up pretty soon in the next, I would say in the next 3 weeks, that will be online for you to look at if you are interested in bidding. I know on the construction contracts that are out there now, Dr. O'Connor will be talking about what is entailed in those contracts, and hopefully you could either be a prime or a sub on those. And if you have any if you have any questions, I would hope that you would feel free to contact me at 312-751-6600 or email at LoCascio, LoCasciod at MWRD.org. And thank you again for your interest in doing business at the MWRD. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Darlene. My name is Catherine O'Connor. I'm the Director of Engineering, and I'm thrilled to be here to talk about upcoming engineering contracts and how we do business here at MWRD. Next slide. We issue contracts with consultants to do design, do certain specialized evaluation, and post-award construction work. Right now, we have 3 projects out for bid, and 1 large contract will be out for bid tomorrow. That'll be on our website. And looking forward in 2023, we expect to award on the order of 40 projects, roughly 20 construction projects, and I'll go into more detail, and 20 stormwater projects. Next slide, please. We do hire consultants, and the consultant work with the engineering department is on the order of 25,000 consultant person days per year. We have a qualification-based selection process that has been given accolades from ASCE and a number of other professional organizations. On these consultant projects, we do have MW and VP goals. We meet these goals. There's a large variety of work, and we need a diverse variety of firms. Our problems are huge, and we need everybody at the table to provide a creative product. I think we've benefited quite a bit from the diversity of the firms that are here in Cook County. Next slide, please. So the type of work, we have all disciplines: electrical, mechanical, civil, structural, architectural, and process. The typical repetitive, we award on a 2-year rotating basis are bridge inspections, cost estimating, material inspections, geotechnical inspections, different specialized investigations on an as needed. We're always doing concrete testing and inspections. And new to our, relatively new since 2004, we are designing and constructing green infrastructure and stormwater conveyance and detention. So that's a big bulk of our, and the green infrastructure and stormwater conveyance and detention is almost 100% consultant design. Next slide, please. Larger prime contracts would be a pump station design, master underground piping plans, etc. Odor control design, digester gas utilization design. So we'll see those as they come up, and I'll go more into the construction projects. Next slide, please. Here is an example. We've done quite a bit of stream bank stabilization work, and that protects property and structures, and it does alleviate flooding. So we've widened and enlarged streams throughout Cook County to alleviate flooding and stabilize property. I just want to give some idea of scale of some of our projects. Next slide, please. Here's a more traditional, the Gabion piles. Next slide, please. Here's the work under construction. This is, difficult, hard, heavy construction work, and it's extremely important. You can see how close this work is to these homes, and you can imagine that these homes, we need to protect the homes and the property. So we have quite a few of these projects underway, conveyance improvements. Next slide, please. Here is just for scale, this is the die store cover that's being put back on the, a new die store cover on the digester, anaerobic digester at Egan. Next slide, please. Here is a picture under construction of the new primary tanks that were constructed. That project is in substantial completion. These are primary sedimentation tanks at the Stickney water reclamation plant. Next slide, please. Here we're putting covers on the grid facility. We do like to say we're good neighbors, and we make sure that we are making sure that things are covered where practical. This is covering grit and sludge concentration. Next slide, please. And here's a slide of the construction of the newly completed Des Plaines Tunnel. That's the last of our tunneling work as part of the tunnel and reservoir plan. 300 feet below grade. Next slide, please. And this is just, I believe this is the last slide. This is the concrete construction of the grid facility at the Stickney Water Reclamation Plant. So this project was on the order of $200 million, and 20% of that work went to minority business enterprise, 10% to women business enterprise. There's an awful lot of very good work out there. We do think we're part of the economy. Next slide, please. Again, this is the first fill of this particular primary tank. We're kind of proud of this project. It really modernized the Stickney Water Reclamation Plant. Next slide, please. And this is just some of the excavation for the sludge concentration, just to give some scale of, I mean, this is heavy equipment work, all good union jobs. Next slide, please. So the upcoming construction contracts, I mentioned that there were the contracts that are out for bid. Those are up on the website. The ABCD Service Tunnel Rehab Phase 3, that's the third phase of completely rehabilitating the service tunnels that were originally placed into service in 1935. We have the two next, Calumet E and Upper Des Plaines, 14B, intercepting sewer rehabilitation, the complete rehab. They're like new, they serve hundreds of thousands of our residents. Drop shaft modification and collection facility work is out for bid. What's going out for bid tomorrow is replacement of the boilers 3, 4, and 5 and motor control center replacement at the Stickney Water Reclamation Plant. We have utility tunnel crack and expansion joint rehab at a number of our plants. January of this year, of 2023, we expect to have phosphorus removal modifications for Battery D at O'Brien Water Reclamation Plant. And a couple months later, March, Battery A improvements and installation of mechanical mixers at Stickney. But again, those are a handful, and next year we expect to have 20 full capital improvement program construction projects. So thank you very much for your time. Look forward to a nice discussion.
Good evening, everyone. This is Regina Berry, the Diversity Administrator. Are you able to see my slides? I'm seeing them, but I don't know if you can. You see them?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
Okay, awesome, wonderful. So I want to thank you for having me for this roundtable event, of course. It was a pleasure doing it last time, and indeed a pleasure that I look forward to this time as well. So just to jump right in, I was asked to give an introduction of our diversity program, our diversity activities, which will include contracts, outreach, as well as what we have coming up. So for an introduction to our diversity program, the purpose of our diversity program, of course, was to mitigate discriminatory practices in the construction marketplace for MBEs, WBEs, SBEs, and recently added VBEs. The initiatives under the strategic plan for our diversity unit is the community engagement piece. And that is to pursue for the district, of course, the value of equity as well as diversity, because we all know that it is very necessary for us all to be able to not just be at the table, but able to contribute, able to eat. And so in making sure that is the case, we exist. Our organizational engagement includes MBEs, WBEs, VBEs, and of course, our recently added LGBT group. And we are looking to be able to engage, of course, with the disabled population as well. So for our diversity officers, I was asked to kind of give you some insight into what our diversity officers do. I like to say everything, because we basically do. So the diversity officers conduct detailed reviews for MWSs as well as VBEs now, attend pre-construction meetings, providing information, attend pre-bids. We also, or they also review contract agreements between contractors and the MWS community to ensure that there is adherence to our program. They conduct meetings to investigate the affirmative action disputes, which do pop up from time to time. We do have contractors that may not fully understand the program, or we may have subs that are not properly being compensated or timely being compensated or utilized where they are supposed to. So it is our responsibility to ensure that that compliance piece is there. So once we set those goals on that contract, we follow through to make sure that what we set is carried out fully. We participate in hearings when necessary because, of course, in addition to meeting with general contractors and subs, sometimes there is mitigation that has to happen. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we are there to produce the district's side of that. And then they act as liaisons between the MWRD, as well as the communities, the business organizations, and we participate, of course, in community outreach functions. Some of those are districts, some of those are other governmental entities, some of those are assist agencies, outreach fairs. So we just try to make sure that we are there for everybody that is in this community that we are in to try to help people. So now this isn't an exhaustive list. This is just the start. So diversity activities for our contracts. So what we're going to cover is, of course, what our MBEs look like. Given that this is Hispanic Heritage Month, our MBEs cover our Hispanic population. All right, so for 2020, I just wanted to do a comparative because there's fluctuation that happens in our contracting world based on the work of the contract, based on the subs that exist in the marketplace, and then our availability to be able to set those goals accordingly. So for 2020, you'll see that there were 23 engineering and maintenance and operations contracts. Of that, 10,603,569.16 went to our MBE community. That's 21.61%. However, in 2021, bear in mind we were dealing with a pandemic, there were 34 engineering contracts as well as M&O contracts. Of those contracts, $12,951,038.01 went to our MBE community, which is 12.37%. When you compare that, of course, to our WBEs, which includes, and we're including this because it also includes our Hispanic population as well. So out of 23 contracts again for 2020, $8,139,069.68, translating to 16.59% of the contracts went to our WBE community. Of those 34 contracts mentioned earlier for 2021, $8,374,885.96, 8% of our total contracts went to our WBEs. Then when we look at 2022, our engineering and maintenance and operations contracts were 20. Of that, $22,932,651.89, translating to 15.52%, went to our MBE community for our 2022. As well, when you look at our WBEs, those 20 contracts, 16,626,124,079 which translates to 11.26% of our contracts went to our WBE. For our professional service contracts, you'll see that there were 12 contracts, 12 professional service contracts let for $5,559,977. $1,415,000. It's after work. My brain is fried. $825.80.
Dr. Berry, I do want to do a quick time check. Just we're running a little behind time.
Okay. Well, what you'll basically see is for 2020, for our 12 professional service contracts, 25.46% went to our MBE community. For professional service contracts for 2021, you'll see that 20.61% went to our MBE community. And then, of course, for our job contracts, you'll see for 2020 that 43.9%. as well as 35.28% for 2021 went to our MBE community. And then, of course, for our professional services, 25.9%, 15.16%. Now, to jump to our diversity activities, since that is what is in the strategic plan for our outreach, our community engagement, this is not an exhaustive list of the contractors or the assist agencies that we have worked with, but this is to give you some idea of our community effect, because we do get out in the community and make sure that we are touching the lives of the people that we are charged with covering. What are our upcoming events? So right now we have an in-person networking fair that we are working on, which will be held on November 29th at the UIC Student Center. So you can look forward to participating in that. We will have our contractors there. Whomever receives the job contract will also hopefully be present by that time if we have ironed that out. If not, don't worry about it, because you will be able to meet with them at our virtual vendor technical assistance fair, which is going to be December 2022. That official date, of course, is yet to be determined. We will have that for you. And of course, that information will be going out by our efficient public affairs department. And to say this, if you enjoyed my colleagues' presentations, rest assured you can hear even more, because both Dr. O'Connor as well as Director LoCascio will be presenting at those vendor outreach events as always, and they do a stellar job. So do make sure that you keep your eyes peeled and open for those announcements to come out, for those emails for you to get registered. And as one last thing, if I can, just this one quick snippet, Sandi, it's good to see you on here. Brenda, as well as Roberto, it has been our pleasure to work with you all from this department and to be a partner with you in getting not just you contracts with the district and work with the district, but also everybody that you touch. So again, I am Regina Berry, the Diversity Administrator. It has been my pleasure to be here. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Berry, and thank you also Dr. O'Connor and Darlene Lokiasio. Now that we've learned a little bit about MWRD and how the program is set up, I'd like to turn it over to our panelists to tell us a little bit about yourself. We are running a little behind on time, so if you could be a bit brief, state your name, the organization that you're with, and just a quick brief statement on how you have engaged with the district. We'll start by introducing Sandi Llano.
Hi, I'm Sandi Llano. I'm very happy to be here. I've been very happy to work on and off with the district for years. My company is Sandi, Llano and Associates. I do diversity and inclusion. My claim to fame, I was Metro's DBE director for 26 years. I've been involved with these programs since they started. I started in May of 1980 in the area of diversity. When I retired, I started my own firm in 2011, where I continue to do everything that I did as the DBE director, write programs, do oversight, compliance, technical assistance, whatever it takes. I'm currently vice president of HACIA. I'm really glad to have had the experience of working with the district over the last couple of years to see the operations, how the contracts work, how important compliance is, how important these programs are respected, and glad to be on the panel today.
Thank you so much, Sandi. We also have Roberto Velazquez.
Hello, I'm Roberto Velazquez, happy to be here. I'm the president of Semper Land Service. We are a heavy landscape contractor and ecological restoration. Most of our work is as prime contractor. We've had a working relationship with the district for approximately 3 years, and really enjoyed the work. We've worked with many federal, state, and local agencies. So again, we're happy to be here, and any questions that we can answer, more than happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. And we have Brenda Wheeler.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me as well. Hello, Regina. She's still on. It's wonderful to see you and actually hear from you. So I'm Brenda Wheeler, Jason Mechanical President. I've been with the company since February of 1998. I actually started as a part-time bookkeeper. And when I started, the owner of the company at the time was, he lost his main salesperson, kind of giving you the quick result of how I became the owner. As his main salesperson left, I was in customer service. So I helped him become more part of the company, which in turn I learned about what the mechanical piping industry is all about. We hire local union Chicago pipe fitters 597. When the owner decided he wanted to retire, he offered me the opportunity to purchase the company. So August of 2017, I became owner of the company. So I quickly started on my certification processes, understanding that the need was out there for MBEs and WBEs. I am Hispanic. I know I don't look it. My last name is Lopez. So, but español muy bien, pero I don't have anybody to practice with, so I've lost. My husband doesn't speak any Spanish. Anyway, so part of being with the district, I feel very fortunate because we did receive our certifications through the National Minority Supplier Development Council first. And with that, in turn, we were able to get on with the district. Our first project was back in 2019 with JJ Henderson, very small project. I think the contract was, if I can look here, only 43,000. But since then, we actually this year were awarded our second-year term on the Blue Hat project with independent mechanical contractor. So through 2024. And then we were also just received another award, which is another 2-year project, I believe, and that's with Joe Kennedy. So we haven't had the opportunity to work as a prime with the district yet, although we would really appreciate that opportunity. But I believe that unbundling that was mentioned earlier by Darlene, I think that might help us getting those projects to where they're more within reason and in our scope. We're typically now from 2019 to current, we're about $8 to $10 million. So we've grown since we purchased the company, or since I purchased the company. And again, because of the opportunities that the districts have provided and other resources with the women-owned small business and the minority certifications, they just open up so much opportunities for us. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for the introduction of our panelists. I'll kick it off with Sandi and Robert. Can you please describe the process of working with Semper from the start to helping him become a finished product? You know, it's something that we want our companies to do, start from below, and also make it all the way to the top and get registered. So Sandi, Robert, can you tell us your story about that?
When I started my company in 2011, 2012, Robert was my first, or is my first client. When he was basically doing, I tell the story because I'm very proud to be associated with him and his family. He was doing basically residential construction. I worked on his certification. I worked with him. I worked with his sister. We did some outreach, and he plugged along, got subcontracts, started growing his business, didn't use his certification at first. I think it took a while. And then he finally got in some contracts. I can remember with the county, and those contracts grew. And then maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I think he got his first prime contract at the tollway. And he had to make a decision to go union because most of the work now on the tollway is union. And that's a big transition for companies. And Robert was prepared to do that. I also was fortunate enough to work with the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that had a contract with the tollway to do technical assistance. So I was always available for Robert and his sister to call me whenever they needed a little extra assistance, working with governmental agencies, paperwork, wherever I could just be an extension or answer questions and just help them move forward, until one day he told me that he saw something with MWRD. He wanted an introduction. We made the introduction. He said he could handle the job. And here we are several years later. And I'm always very excited and happy to tell the story of Robert, because he grew from a residential landscaper in Aurora to having a beautiful facility out in Kendall County, a big warehouse, a lot of equipment, hires a lot of people, pays them. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. And he's a veteran. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Robert, can you tell us about your experience working with us and the process to being certified, and any hurdles that you had, and any information that you can give others on how to make the process apply better?
Yeah, so I first started to get introduced to certifications around 2011. So luckily, early on, I was able to meet Sandi and learn about the different certifications, different agencies. So I guess advice that I would give is to understand the different agencies that are offering the different certifications and what your market looks like, because there may be an agency that offers a certification that you may not need. So just understand what each one offers and what's the best fit for you. And those are the ones you should probably start with as far as getting certified.
That's great. That's great advice. You know, one of the things that we've talked about here as a board is, how do we make sure that we accept the certifications from other certifying bodies without having to make people who want to work with us keep jumping over hoops? So it would be great. It's great to hear that your experience with that.
Yeah, no. So once we got certified, really another important thing Sandi showed us early on is just really having organized paperwork and just keeping that continuous, and not even just for certifications, just for business in general. Having tight paperwork is really important and makes things a lot easier. So yeah, again, about 3 years ago, we had the opportunity to work with MWRD. We've seen a lot of opportunities coming across our screen, and we teamed up with Sandi, and Regina was very helpful with the process and getting us certified. So we're thankful, and even just the slides that we seen earlier with Dr. O'Connor with the stream bank stabilizations, those are the jobs we love, and the habitat improvements is kind of what we do. So we thought MWRD was a good fit for us, and why we pursued our certification with MWRD.
Great.
And
Thank you.
what has been your experience in trying to contract with MWRD and other government agencies?
So MWRD, I feel, has been the more positive interaction that I've had with my certification process, because you actually follow through to make sure the primes are supplying their partners with the correct paperwork and how everything has to be completed. As far as the certification process, I didn't have Sandi. I wish I would have met you, but I actually did the whole process on my own. And it was like months and months and months of, but the process was pretty easy, pretty seamless. We haven't really had much. I'll echo what Roberto said, is you definitely need to make sure you have all your paperwork in line. As soon as you're awarded a project, again, all that paperwork is required of you, and they ask for you to supply it, just to make sure that, you know, unfortunately, there are a lot of companies out there that want to represent themselves as M&Ws, but they are only storefronts and they're not actually doing the work. Like Roberto and I, we do the work, we sole source we hire our men and we do our work, and women, sorry. But I think it's been great. The opportunity has been wonderful.
May I add that in the compliance area for the MWRD, I've been fortunate enough to do oversight and compliance on some projects, and I really must congratulate MWRD for making their prime contractors have basically binders of information on a monthly basis of what they've done and what their subs have done, and collect the invoices, the cancel checks, keep up with their affirmative action plan to make sure they're meeting their goals. They collect a lot of essential documents. So anybody can pick up that file and see that the contractor that committed to his plan is in compliance with his plan.
Now,
It's very complete.
when it comes to certification with other agencies or doing business with other agencies, what has been your experience? What are some learning lessons that we can take as a government agency ourselves from our sister agencies?
Well, I can tell you from my experience when the DBE program was told to have a unified program in 1999, and there were 5 of us under DBE, CTA, Metro PACE, IDOT, and the city of Chicago for federal projects. We were not all that happy. We did not really want to accept each other's certifications. We all felt that we all did a better and more thorough job. But we were forced to do this, and we sat down with all of our certified firms. We were grandfathering the folks in, and actually when we read the list of all of the DBEs that we had, basically we were in agreement with probably about 90 or 95% of all of those firms that went into that unified directory, which means that for the most part, a firm that is certifiable will get certified by all the certifying agencies. A firm that is not certifiable most likely will be denied by most agencies. They may make it through 1 or 2, which is unfortunate. So actually, the majority or more than the majority of firms that are good really should not have to go through the process over and over again. Unfortunately, there are a few certifiers or human beings that when they read the files, let them slip in, but there really are not that many.
Thank you,
Wow,
Sandi.
interesting.
For
Yeah.
Brenda or Roberto, any other practices that we can learn from beyond certification? We've gotten some input on that, but other practices that we could take a learning lesson from our sister agencies. I'll go with you, Roberto.
Again, like Sandi mentioned, MWRD does a great job of managing the percentages for the W and the M. Some of the larger agencies do just as equal of a good job. Tollway, IDOT, Cook County Forest Preserve, Chicago Park District are have a very, very good program that support the diverse businesses. I guess any other advice would be, Brenda somewhat touched on it, just businesses that are looking to start and get certified, just be a qualified company first, that knows your craft, knows your trade, because once you get certified, you'll get a lot of solicitations, and not all of those are positive. So just understanding who you're working with, and build those relationships, get to know those contractors. The biggest contractors may not always be the best ones. There might be the smaller contractors that have more of that hands-on approach that'll kind of help you and guide you through some of these things, because there are some larger contractors and that's just, they have their processes and how they handle things. So just really knowing your customer and where you want to utilize your certifications to do the best work for you.
Thank you, Roberto. Brenda, what could we learn from other sister agencies that hasn't already been shared?
Honestly, I feel like they can learn from MWRD. I think there's a lot that can be learned. The process that we go through with you guys is yes, there's a lot of work, but yeah, if you follow through and you keep up on your paperwork, like Sandi Roberto mentioned, as long as you have everything intact and you have it where you can find it, organization is key to becoming a successful contractor with MWRD, but that's with all of them as well. But honestly, I'm not just saying that because I'm on,
Yeah.
this is being recorded, but I honestly feel like other folks can learn. From this. Promise.
Oh,
Thank you, Brenda.
thank you for that, Brenda. A quick question for the three of you. Can you tell us about the different systems that the different city, county, and other places use? Prisms versus B2G. What's your experience using B2G versus our system that we use, Prism? Does it affect you or not, or what can you tell other companies about that?
From my vantage point, it seems like most agencies are using B2G now, and I think it makes it a lot easier on the contractors, the primes, and the subs. I know for certification, it's great. A lot of files, when I'm working on a file, I can pull information that belongs to the city or the county. We can, move things around, and the compliance. There's a certain amount of, maybe the word is not continuity. It's all the same. It seems to be easy for the contractors, for the primes and the subs, and as well as B2G seems to be very responsive. If you have a technical question, you can call them and they will get back to you. They will assist you. To me,
Very
it's
good.
I don't believe.
And Brenda and Roberto, as end users of the contract, what do you feel about those two systems?
All of them are pretty user friendly. You just have to put in the time and just make sure that you, either yourself or the designated project manager, just keeps up with it, and most importantly, make sure you account for that time in your proposal to learn the system.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent. We heard from Darlene Lokiasio that a little bit about furnish and delivery goals and other things to be applied. It's an understanding that we could potentially apply to participation goals to furnish and delivery contracts where vendors are available. It is valid work. It's a valid work commodity. Can you talk about the risk that the person takes on being a certified dealer of some sort, or making sure that we do our homework on the community? And I think this question's for Sandi, as you work a lot with furnish and delivery and helping companies navigate.
Yeah, this is kind of a gray area at times, because we certify firms that are called regular dealers that have a place of business that stock items for sale. And then we, suppose they're ordering light bulbs, but we want they've got 1 through 100 and we're looking for 101. Do we give them credit because they don't have 101s? No, we'll work with them. But when I'm doing compliance and I talk to that particular vendor, contractor, whatever you want to call them, that has that contract, in order to really receive credit, there is some risk that they should be taking. They should be knowing what they're ordering, why that's the product, as opposed they're ordering light bulb 101 instead of 93, because they've looked at the specs. They figured it out, or it tells you 101. They're negotiating the price. They're responsible for the transportation. If it has to be stored somewhere, they're storing it. If it has to be insured, they're insuring it. Be there for delivery. and looking and be responsible for quality control. Sometimes not all of those aspects of risk are present for that purchase, and it takes a little common sense on the part of the person that's doing compliance to really see if they feel that this vendor is got skin in the game in some sort. It's not just like the old-fashioned brokers looking in a catalog, picking up a phone and drop shipping things. In order to receive credit, that vendor should have skin in the game in order for it to
Very good.
be
Thank you.
valid for gold credit.
Thank you, Sandi. Now, utilizing assist agencies throughout the process, it's a critical resource. Brenda, how have you been able to work with assist agencies?
As far as the other certifications that we have with the national.
Whatever, anything, your experience in general. I think assist agencies don't just offer support in certification. They offer a variety of resources, workshops,
Right.
networking opportunities. So exactly, grants. So any experiences that you've had to share with the group?
We actually, with the Women Business Enterprise National Council, we've attended a number of their annual events and just networking with other women in all sorts of fields that are just in business on their own. That's helped me, especially when you get a bunch of women in the room, and I am in a male-dominated industry. That definitely inspires me to be better and pushes me forward. And when you're in those discussions with other women, it's trial and error. It's you learn from your own mistakes, and that's how you grow. And you learn from others as well. And it's a sharing. It's always a really good environment on the WBE and state side. I haven't attended many functions on the National Minority Supplier Development Council. The opportunities are usually at a state, and then me being such a new owner, it's important for me to stay close. I'm very hands-on, probably too controlling of the company, but it's still like a baby to me. So I'm really careful where I go. I love these Zoom meetings, by the way, too, because it keeps me here, keeps me in my little comfort zone.
Thank you for that. One of the things that we're very interested here and that we've heard from both Colette Holt and Sandi in the past is mentor protege programs. And I think you went through it, Brenda. Can you tell us about that, how successful they are, and maybe Roberto too, because you came through the system too. Are they worthwhile for you as a company? And tell us a little bit more about that.
So one project that we had, unless you wanted to go, Roberto, we recently.
Oh, go ahead.
Was we worked with Helm Mechanical, and they are a prime contractor. At times we do compete against them, but they're much larger than Jason Mechanical. We were their partner on the Rush Hospital project in Chicago, the new ambulatory building that they built, and we installed all the piping in the basement, the lower level, the third floor, and then on the roof. The one thing that you have to be careful with when you're working with someone that says it's going to be their mentor and they're doing that sales pitch in front of the customer and the owner is that they actually follow through with that after the work has been awarded. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes, as Roberto said, the larger contractors, they have their own way of doing business and they make promises that they don't keep. And at that time, you need to make sure that you understand your work and you understand your craft and you understand how the work has to be installed, and you basically just have to do the work on your own and honor my contract, which is what we did. So sometimes they're good, and again, like I said, that's one thing I like about the district is that you follow through to make sure that if I'm working for a prime, that they're actually honoring that commitment, what they did by hiring us to be their partner in that project.
Robert?
Yeah, I'll kind of chime in on the first question too, the technical assistance question. Again, it kind of revolves around the certification, who you want to do business with, and staying involved in whatever technical assistance program they have. Not to say that you have to work on that one specifically, but just things like today with MWRD, unbundling is one that kind of rings, sticks with me. You can learn about changes within the agency of how you can open up new opportunities. Sometimes they offer bonding advice or insurance be able to build up the capacity to work with these agencies. I mean, sometimes you need huge umbrellas and other things like that. So, and then peer-to-peer, talk like, hey, what kind of problems do you have? Well, I'm having the same problem. Well, let's go talk to them, So that's, anytime you have the chance to be a part of a technical assistance, just to listen in and learn, take advantage, it really helps. And the second question was, I didn't write that one down.
Mentoring protege.
Oh, mentor protege
Protege
program. So I actually just started one with a large road building contractor via the tollway P4G program, and I have to say it's going really well right now. And we sat down and talked to multiple companies, so I was able to pick who I wanted to be for us, who's going to be our mentor. So that was kind of nice, and tollway did a great job of facilitating it. And there's really nothing off the table when it comes to that, and that's what I liked about the mentor.
They were the pioneers with the mentor protege, the tollway, probably about 15 years ago, and it's just really taken off.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your input on that. Want to also engage, we often hear of how important it is to be a prime contractor, but for many of our small business owners or minority or women-owned business owners, they start off as subcontractors. Can either of you, or Sandi, if you have input as well, share a little bit about, what's the transition from subcontractor to prime?
I'll take this one.
That's for you.
I started off as a mostly subcontractor, but quickly realized that there's a lot of moving parts in my own business, let alone when somebody else is running the project. So, you have to abide by the rules or schedule, pretty much everything. So I quickly realized that I wanted to be in the prime role. And I feel like there's, with the certified company, that a lot of companies, regardless of the trade, stay in that subcontractor role. But we see the opportunity in doing smaller prime work for smaller local municipalities. Every now and then, tollway will unbundle certain things. IDOT just started to unbundle things, MWRD. So now I'm able to work as prime with these larger agencies. Some of the things when you're working with prime with such a large agencies, a lot of the same rules apply to a $1 million contract and a $100 million contract, as far as the paperwork, the submittals and everything like that. So, but again, the agency, if you relay those concerns to them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to work with you to kind of get through that, the hurdles, and everybody's learning at the same time. So about the program. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So
Thank you, Roberto. Sandi, would you give us a little bit of input of what you've seen as well? And then before you start with your response on that question, Sandi, just want to remind everyone to give some time to put your questions. We'll have Q&A after this. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We are running a little bit behind time, so if there aren't any questions, that's fine. We'll close out the program, but if you do have questions, start putting them in there. Don't be shy, because if I don't see any in there, I'm just going to go to the closing. So Sandi, if you could give us a little bit of insight of what you've seen the transition for subcontractors to then transition into prime contractors.
Yeah, through the years, I have seen subcontractors such as Robert grow into being a prime contractor, but it's a small percentage. It's not a great percentage. It depends on your personality, your drive, your background, your staff, and things like that. And what I have seen, though, in the past few years with the advent of all the different assist agencies and the technical assistance programs is, again, the one that I've been involved in for the past, I guess, 6-7 years with the IHCC and the tollway, is the participants that we've had that want to grow like that, even if they were in the program 5 years ago, they can still spend hours with us, the coaches, for what they need to supplement that knowledge so that they can make that jump. They're not alone. Sometimes these firms still need to know that they just can't cut the parachute strings yet. It's very thin. They're almost ready. But it's nice to see those firms grow from subs to primes, but it's not everybody wants to. And it wouldn't be great if everybody did also, you know, but it's great to see the success stories.
Thank you, Sandi, for that insight. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We look forward to engaging and bringing more partners to help the MWRD successfully carry out its mission. This is our second annual Latinx Business Roundtable, and we look forward to having more opportunities to talk to you all about how you can continue to do business, or if you're a first timer, how you can do business with the MWRD in the future. I'm Commissioner Corral Sepúlveda. Thank you so much for joining us. Marcelino, you're on mute.
Okay, there I go. Sorry for that. And just as a reminder, the materials and recording will be available on our website. Thank you everyone for being with us, and happy National Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hasta luego. Buenas noches, everyone.
Buenas noches.
Ciao.